I'm James Shillinglaw. If you don't know me already, I'm editor-in-chief and founder of Insider Travel Report. I've been covering this business for a little bit of time. Anyway, our panel, I'm going to quickly say who they are, and then I'm going to get them to tell you very briefly who they are. And here first we got my friend Rick Barron from Tauck. I have Shannon Knapp, my new friend from Leading Hotels of the World. I was with Shannon in ILTM and elsewhere. Albert Herrera, longtime friend from Virtuoso. We have Lia Batkin from In the Know Travel Experiences. We have my good friend Navin Sawhney from Ponant, who is then going to skip over to do the second cruise panel. He's slumming it here in luxury for like this. And we have Becky Powell from Protravel. Now, each of you quickly just tell us what you do and sort of how you relate to luxury. Becky.
I am president of Protravel, and we are one of the largest luxury travel agencies headquartered here in New York with 24 offices throughout the US and Canada. And I've been in luxury for years with Andrew Harper before this, Virtuoso, so my entire career has been luxury.
Yes, you're going to find there's a pretty incestuous bunch here of all the people like that. Now, Navin, you and Ponant.
I'm Navin Sawhney, and I had a small team of people in the Americas to spearhead growth in the expedition cruise market. Ponant has been around for 32 years. We're the only French cruise line in the world, and we've been doing expeditions for at least a generation. And 10 years ago, we forged a whole new category by combining the world of expeditions with luxury. So we are an expedition cruise company that offers luxury anticipating those needs on small ships. Our ships range from 32 guests to 264, and they cover every corner of the globe imaginable.
Fantastic. Lia.
Hi, I'm Lia Batkin. I'm the co-founder of In the Know Experiences. We're a luxury travel and lifestyle company based here in New York. We have about 25 full-time agents, about 80 independent contractors around the world. And we not only focus on luxury travel, but also one-of-a-kind experiences, money can't buy experiences, but can buy, that are all over the world as well.
And Albert.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Albert Herrera. My role at Virtuoso is I'm the Senior Vice President for Global Product Partnerships. What that means is, along with my team, I oversee the partnerships we have with over 2,000 partners around the world. Some of them are at this table. But more importantly as well, some of the agencies that we have. We have agencies in 50 countries with about 22,000 advisors with $30 billion in sales. What that really means is it's a large global network that's been around a long time, and we've been focused on luxury, in the luxury space, and that's why we are friends with James Shillinglaw.
Well, thank you. You mean you wouldn't be otherwise? Shannon.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shannon Knapp. I'm the president and CEO of the Leading Hotels of the World. Leading is a community, a curated community of over 400 independent luxury hotels in over 80 countries around the world. We are about 95% independently branded and 85% family-led. So as you all know, family-led hospitality creates a very different experience, and that is truly what makes Leading Hotels remarkably uncommon.
Great. Rick, tell them all about what you do when you're not skiing.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rick Barron, and I'm a managing director of worldwide accounts for Tauck. And I think, how many of you know Tauck? Okay, so I don't have to tell you a whole lot about who we are.
Robin, you don't know Tauck. I never heard of it right now.
But what you might not know is that we're third generation, to soon to be fourth generation, family-owned and operated company. And do you like traveling salesman stories? We began back in 1925 when our founder, Arthur Tauck, was traveling the back roads of New England selling a coin tray he invented. And he discovered that 90% of the people that were traveling through New England really never got to experience the destination, and they were having lousy food and staying in inferior accommodations because they didn't know that better places existed. So he invited some travelers to come with him, and he said, I'll do all the driving, I'll introduce you to the best of New England, and he charged $49 for that first trip. That's
Good-
not
good
a day.
package trip,
It was
right?
$7 a day. The prices have gone up a little bit, but we've managed to take that formula and now grow it to 7 continents, over 150 destinations worldwide. But one thing that hasn't changed was his original philosophy, and that was never do anything second best, never settle for second best, and if you're going to build people's dreams, you better do it right. And that's what we do today.
Fantastic. Guys, do me all a favor, move your mics a little closer and speak into the mic. So Alan Fine, my cameraman and partner, will be able to hear you. All right. Let's start right at bat, and we're going to talk about a topic that has been the topic du jour in luxury, believe it or not. It's sustainability. It's the topic of travel in general. And can luxury travel be sustainable? And what are your organizations individually doing to promote sustainable travel? And it also works for the travel agencies on the panel because you are selling sustainable travel. Let's start, who should I start with? Let's start with Lia.
Sure.
Because you cater to a younger set of travelers, rich millennials. Boy, who's a rich millennial in the audience? There we go. All right. Client for you right there.
We like to say well off.
Well off. How are you selling this concept of sustainable travel and combining it with upscale travel?
Sure, absolutely. So I think there's a few points to this question. Us as an agency and individuals at our company find it very important to talk the talk. So first and foremost, last year we started working with small and under the radar charities that we pair with trips that we see people taking. So a good example is we started working with a company called Baby Grant, which actually gives grants to families who cannot afford IVF. So we partnered with them, and anyone who books a baby moon, we give a percentage of the profits back to that charity. And we promote it, and so people, not only our clients, potential clients see it, but also the hotels that we partner with also promote it. So it's a really great way to show that we're giving back and we're supportive about different charities. We also definitely talk about the hotels and the brands that are supporting sustainability. So hotels like Six Senses, Bulgari, in different capacities, lots of individual hotels, like a beautiful hotel in Fiji called Lufala. They're actually 86% self-sustainable on the island. So things like that we do bring up to clients because more and more and more they not only want to know about it, but they want to feel good about where they're staying and feel that they are connecting and giving back. We have a lot of high-profile clients that as of last year specifically will ask no plastic to be seen, even if the hotel does offer it. So no plastic water bottles, no plastic straws. So really trying to do their part to make sure that they are staying with their sustainability thought process. We also are constantly working with clients on their trips to try to integrate local experiences that give back. So highlighting those when we're talking about the activities that they're doing and making sure they know where the profits of that organization are going, what they're doing, why it's important, and more people really enjoy that. They want that to be a part of their experiences. So all in all,
yeah. Let's jump to Becky because Becky is a very large agency.
Yes.
And how are you? First of all, are your clients interested in booking sustainable travel on the upscale side, and how are you doing that with them?
We don't find that clients are asking about booking sustainable properties or cruise lines, but they're interested in it. They come back from their trip and they are very pleased when they see when companies are enforcing sustainable habits. But I really think as the younger generation, this is more of a focus. It's going to be more for your Gen Y, those type of clients who are going to be really asking for this. But every company that we work with now has some kind of sustainable plan that they're enforcing. Some are doing it quicker than others. So I think as time goes, it will become more of a requested item versus I'm pleased to see it happening, so.
No, great. Now let's jump, well, I shall go to Albert, because I know Virtuoso has been very active. We'll hear more in our keynote panel from Matthew Upchurch in the sustainability area, but how are you approaching that?
Wow, with this microphone in front, I feel like I'm in the congressional hearings. Good morning, everyone. I plead the fifth.
There will be no witnesses. So.
No transcript will be available at the end of the meeting. Sustainability is an extremely important factor in terms of how we, Virtuoso, the network, is approaching our business. James mentioned Matthew, our CEO. Matthew and his wife, Jessica, have been very passionate about this cause or this purpose for the last 15 years. And for the most part, it's also how we look at the partners we work with. It's about the practices they share. But more importantly, it's not about Virtuoso creating a new standard of what sustainability should be or be giving back. Because I mentioned earlier, we work with about 2,000 partners around the world, and each and every one of them has a story to tell, a good practice to share. And that's what we do, is actually we take that content that's given to us by our partners, provide that in a nice, easy format to be able to distribute that across the 22,000 advisors, because that helps them be armed when their clients come to them saying, I want to travel, but I need to make sure that I'm saving whatever it may be or helping whatever it may be. And that's important. We're able to share those stories around the world. So that is one aspect of it. And even we throw our own big events, as some of you may know, chuckle on the side. It's also how we ourselves are held accountable, where we source the food that's being served at these events. Because the largest, little factoid I learned 6 months ago was the largest polluter, I guess, or contributor to global warming as well, is food waste.
That's true.
Right? It's more than air, travel, and all that. So how we are responsible in terms of sourcing the food that we get when we serve these big banquets.
Yeah, and they're also now doing carbon offsets of meetings and things like that, increasingly. Let's turn to the couple of. I want to do the suppliers. You're right. You may speak.
Thank you, James.
Please. What is Tauck doing?
I think it's really important to note that sustainability has more to do than just carbon and plastic. There's
plastic bottles here. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think we're falling down on the job.
But I often talk to advisors about destinations with an expiration date, and what I mean is that we have this real responsibility to educate our travelers so that they don't come in and you've heard the word over tourism, that they don't come in and change a culture. We need to preserve cultures. And I remember years ago when we were one of the first companies to go into Mexico's Copper Canyon. There was no infrastructure. We had to actually build the infrastructure. We partnered with a company and built the Sierra Madre Express, our own train, because the only way to access Copper Canyon back then was with the Mexican railway, and so hardly anybody went. And when we first started going into the area, there was an indigenous group of people called the Tarahumara Indians, and many of them had never actually seen white skin. And once we blazed the trail into Mexico's Copper Canyon, many followed, and before long, the Tarahumaras went from their native garb to wearing Yankees baseball caps and Adidas shirts. And, that's just plain wrong. So we need to make sure that we're responsible and teach people that when they visit an area, it's not just that they don't leave a carbon footprint, but they also make sure that they don't leave anything that's going to damage or destroy the culture. And that way, we're going to be able to preserve these destinations, long beyond the people on this panel.
Yeah. So, and let's go to Shannon, because Shannon, you have a unique proposition because you have more than 500 some members around the world. How do you promote sustainable travel with them? And is it more they're coming to you and saying, we want sustainable programs? Or are you going to them and saying, look, this is the way we think you should do it?
Yeah, and I think it's a great question, and just building, I think, on what Rick was saying, for us, sustainable travel is much more, it's about responsible travel, and it extends beyond, obviously, we want to ensure that we're reducing plastic, we're reducing our carbon footprint, we're doing all of those things to preserve the environment 100%, but we're also very focused on exactly what Rick was saying, because many of our hotels, in many cases, are the icons of the destination. The destination has grown up around them, or they are really a part of the fabric of that destination. We're very focused on conservation and preservation of the cultures in which our hotels live. And I think this is something that's intimately personal to many of our hoteliers because they too are mostly from those destinations. And so this idea that it's more than simply eliminating, and we must do this, don't get me wrong, but eliminating the plastic and doing the things that we need to be responsible global citizens, we're really focused on this idea of responsible travel and focus on conservation and preservation of the cultures and societies in which we operate.
Great answer. And then Navin, you'll close it up. I promise to get you first the next question.
No worries.
But I'm sure because Navin is actually the only cruise representative on the panel, and that's a big topic now in cruising today, especially in expedition cruising.
It is a big topic in cruising, and I think one of the ways to look at it is cruise lines represent 3% of all global marine traffic. And yet, they invariably become the poster child for all things that are not sustainable, which is rather unfair for the industry as a whole, because cruise lines do an enormous amount. Speaking of the human element and communities, cruise lines did a great deal once the hurricanes struck closer to home in the Bahamas and even in Puerto Rico. They're already contributing to the fires and restoration in Australia. Our company in particular has a couple of officers on staff, shore-based. This is not just on board the ships, whose sole responsibility is to change the habits of all of us within the company. And it goes far beyond single-use plastics and SOx and NOx, which is sulfur dioxide and nitrogen-based gases, etc., and carbon footprints, etc., because you can buy your way out of carbon footprints by just having a huge wallet. But there are other aspects to all of this that become very important. Our company is headed by and founded by, globally, a sailor. The relationship with sustainability is symbiotic. It is not a corporate initiative. It's not a choice. And it's not a choice not just for us, but for all of us over here. And that's how seriously we take it. So where do you take it the next step? You choose your suppliers very carefully. You make sure that better than 2/3 of all your supply chain for food, which Albert just mentioned as a huge waste through the lens of sustainability, is locally sourced, because you will then source what you require and need and can use and sustain the local community. So there is that human element of it. There are a lot of different ways in which all of this is evolving well beyond the science and into the community, and the cruise lines are continuously innovating around all of this.
Yeah, well, I know it's interesting that you would think that luxury might be the last place that would be focused and lead the way in sustainability, but I think it is actually. Absolutely. And of all the travel segments and all the different, and indeed, Matthew Upchurch, when he first started focusing on this, said to me, I think the only way that we're going to get real sustainable travel is when it's profitable. Sadly, that's the case, and it can be profitable. That's the problem. It can be very profitable. Now let's turn to another topic that is a little more fun. I want each of you to tell us, and if you aren't directly booking, like Albert is overseeing it, a lot of different things going on in the Virtuoso network. Tell us about an over-the-top, incredible luxury experience that you were able to deliver to your customers, or one you've heard of, I guess. And I will go straight to Navin first, and very quickly, just give us the most amazing, maybe this year, most amazing trip that you organized for customers.
Right. So, people think of luxury as being experience. People think of luxury as being giving people time back. People think of luxury as enjoying finer foods, etc. But just think of luxury in a pristine environment. We just finished talking about sustainability that needs to be sustained forever in Antarctica, and we have 4 ships that cruise those waters. Now imagine yourself in those beautiful waters, surrounded by ice and ice-capped landscapes all around you. And now imagine that you've come back from your excursion ashore back onto the ship. And by the pool, the crew throws a pool party that allows you a lot of indulgences, because ultimately luxury is about indulging the individual, whatever they fancy. And in this case, it could be a swim in the heated pool. It could be sipping fine champagne by the poolside. It could be enjoying some blinis and caviar. And it could be just having convivial conversation and enlightened discourse about what you just experienced, all of which constitute luxury and over the top in the destination where you are.
Not a bad trip.
Part of it.
Rick, give us an example of a luxury trip that your group, that Tauck, has done.
Well, I know you know what I'm going to talk about because I'm going to take the word over the top literally. And Arthur Tauck was a heli skier, and he was up in the Canadian Rockies, and he asked the owner of these incredible mountain lodges what they do with them during the summers, and they said, well, we shut them down. He had this great idea that if he could take people up to these lodges, he could give them an alpine experience that they would never get unless they were mountain climbers. So he could take people who were not in the best of condition or maybe didn't have hiking experience, and he could literally take them over the top of the Rockies and get them off the beaten path so that they could experience things that they'd never get to see in a million years, thousands of miles of Rockies in these incredible alpine lodges with all of the coziness of home. And so it was a risk, but you know the impact was far greater than anything he'd ever expected. You know, people were coming back with a reborn spirit. They were coming back, you know, with not really a sightseeing experience, but an emotional experience that they carry with them forever. And the people in those lodges, they became bonded. James came with me a couple of years ago, and the small group that traveled with us, we're still in touch with them today. And I think that's the kind of experience we try to provide in all of our journeys. They last long beyond the time that the journey is over.
Yeah, except if you have a girlfriend who's afraid of heights, and I told her there'd be no mountain climbing. I said, Tauck is a little older and we'll be fine, but then try a via ferrata when you're hanging on the edge of a cliff, clipped to a cable, and she's looking at me like, you're killing me, and that was it.
Purely optional, the via ferrata. We had another group that wanted to play bridge on top of the mountain, so we flew a bridge table up and they played bridge. So you do have choices.
Yeah, well, if I recall, Rick, you were up there waiting for us for 3 hours while she made up the mountain, but that's another story. Personal, it was an over-the-top experience, absolutely. Shannon, from all your hotels, talk about one that you know of where they really delivered something amazing.
I mean, how much time do we have?
I know. We could be here all day talking about this stuff.
No, there's one. I'm actually to speak about one that I actually personally experienced. And over the top, maybe I'm stretching the definition of that because it was really an experience that was super impactful on me. So we recently hosted our annual convention in Marrakesh, and I had the pleasure and privilege to stay at the Royal Mansour in Marrakesh in the Grand Riad, which was an over-the-top experience. But really, the experience that I wanted to share with you was Jean-Claude Massant, who's the GM of the property, has a very close relationship with this woman, Doreen, who started the Center for Disadvantaged Children. It's called Fears and Fort. And there's also associated with that a village that's a co-op, basically, that any of the goods, they sell tapestries, they sell pottery, and they sell rugs. And any of the profit that they sell, they share with the village. And so I had this really incredible experience of staying in one of the most extraordinary hotels and one of the most extraordinary destinations ever, but having the opportunity to go into the local community, meet local leaders, and see the impact of this extraordinary hotel and see what that partnership with this extraordinary hotel, the effect that it's having on the local community. For me, it was a truly transformative experience, and so maybe not over the top in terms of...
But it's transformative, and that is a word we're increasingly using now beyond, experiential is getting a little old. We got to think of a new word, right? Yes. Transformational was the buzzer, at least recently, and I'm sure we'll think of something else by the end of the day. Albert, you have access to all and see all this stuff. What is the best experience? Well, you could tell one. I know that because I know you would go out and experience all these properties and products yourself. So
Hey, that's not true.
I know. I see your Facebook. I know.
Well, actually, as far as the folks that actually create the experiences are like Lia and Becky and her team, and obviously the rest of all of my panelists here. I'm fortunate enough to be able to see some of this in terms of the products. Like yesterday, for example, I had not been there, but the new Park Hyatt Manhattan Sky Villa on the 59th floor of the hotel, which goes for $50,000 a night.
You haven't been in that suite yet?
No,
I'm very disappointed, Albert.
I have been
thought
away.
I actually beat him to see it.
There you are. See, so I mean, things like that raised the bar. I was just in London, and obviously there's a hotel that has their luxury, their top suite has its own postal code. I mean, that's where is over the top, or an experience like friends of mine.
Yeah, but who mails anything anymore? That's
Exactly. Or maybe when you have your, what they call Uber Eats deliver you your food for a 6-bedroom. Or even personally, like a year ago, some friends of mine in the business in Italy said, "Would you like to see something special?" I said, "Of course." And as he took us, we went to the back room of the Sistine Chapel, and all of a sudden he took us, said, "Okay, follow me." And to the side of that room, to the side of the Sistine Chapel, is a little door. But who in the room has seen The Two Popes on Netflix? So you heard that the conversation. There's a room called the Weeping Room, which is where the Pope goes in when he's voted in and starts to either weep for joy or weep for happiness or whatever. What did I inherit here? But we entered that room and I had no idea where we were, and we saw and were able to touch. It was just amazing. And of course, as we were leaving, there comes the Pope. So I mean, talk about over the top, because that, again, these are the moments. And
that is pretty over the top.
And then there was Giada De Laurentiis in the corner. So it's like, where are we? I mean, I'm not making this up. It's part of what we all live and experience. But more important, the stories that we hear and are able to share again.
And what you can sell too out there. Yeah. This is like.
And what is possible.
Yeah. Lia, you're catering to a slightly younger demographic. I mean, what is the craziest experience you've booked for them?
So I could be here all day with stories about this. In 14 years doing this, we've done quite a lot. But I think most recently we did something really special. Husband wanted to surprise his wife for her 40th birthday. She'd been saying for years that she always wanted to learn how to cook. So he and us came together and we hired her favorite chef in the United States and planned a week with the chef, a week of going to 5 of the top Michelin star restaurants in Europe. Each day was a different location, and the chef worked with the chef at the Michelin star restaurant to actually each day go to the farms that they source their vegetables from, the markets, explain how they make everything, how they actually choose every item that they make the menu with. And then at the end of the day, the chef locally cooked with the chef that was escorting the client.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. Although I tell you, after 5 days of that, I would have got Taco Bell. That'd be it. Becky, you have a huge agency. You've booked top clients all over the place. What's the...
We do, and I'm happy to say we work with everyone on this panel, our advisors do, to deliver over-the-top experiences, and each one of them deliver above and beyond. But the key is listening to your client, what they're looking for, and making sure that you pick up on the little tidbits. But actually, the example I'm going to give is we are working with Lia and her company right now on a client, not a young client, who called, and his dream is to play Augusta with his 2 sons. Money's not an object. He said, I want to play this. Well, I don't know if you know, but it's impossible to play Augusta unless you know someone. My advisor came to me, said, I don't know how I'm going to deliver on this. So we actually called Lia and her team, even though in some cases you would think they're a competitor. But again, know who your partners are, know who can help you deliver, and they've come through, and the client's going to be playing in May at Augusta with his two sons after the Masters. And
Oh, I'm going to say you're during the Masters. That would be.
No. I'll be at the Masters, but I won't be playing.
No, that's great. So that's kind of what you can do in luxury. And
Right.
let's go back to sort of a basic question I should have asked at the beginning. Let's talk about the definition of luxury today. I always ask this question because, and every year it gets a little more nuanced compared to what luxury was in the past. And what will it be in the future? So, Rick, I mean, take us off there.
Yeah, well, really what's changed more than anything else is our guest. And just to tell you what it was in the past, the contrast was when I started touring back in the 1970s, our guests showed up to board our motor coaches wearing jackets and ties and their Sunday best, and they looked like they were ready to go to church. And they did that every day, and I think it was that way with Cunard too, right? Back in those days. And they'd get out to tour after having a really nice full-course a la carte breakfast and fill their bellies. And then we would ride them and drive them and tell them stories and show them the sights all the way to lunch. And at lunch, they would sit down and have another full 3-course a la carte lunch. After lunch, they'd get back on the motor coach and rest up for dinner. And we spent probably an average of 5 to 6 hours in dining rooms. But if we skipped a meal, they were not happy. It's what they wanted. And it was our goal to get them as close to the attraction as possible, you know, to minimize the walking, because if they had to walk 2 blocks, they weren't very happy either. So luxury was being driven, being taken, being shown, and being fed. Today's traveler is much different today. By contrast, you know, we've got people jumping in and out of Navin Zodiac rafts. We've got grandmas down in Costa Rica that are zip lining, horseback riding, rafting down rivers with their grandchildren.
Hanging from the side of cliffs.
Taking surf lessons in Hawaii. And rather than having that a la carte lunch, they'd rather be taking a walking tour through a marketplace and sampling things along the way, or taking a cooking class and cooking themselves. And so they're very, very eager to sacrifice some of that sitting and being taken for engaging activities that they can participate in. But they still want their fine dining, but it's not every night.
No.
So you know, you've got to have those Michelin fine dining restaurants because dining is part of the experience, but not every day, all the time. You know, and the way they're dressed today is not suits and ties. They look like they're ready to go to the gym.
I thought we were in suits and ties on that mountain together. I don't know, but anyway.
Big difference.
Shannon, what is your definition of luxury today, and how is that changing, or will it change?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at hospitality, hospitality used to set the bar for luxury. It used to define what luxury was. You would go to a luxury hotel and, you know, all the best fixtures and all the best technology, and it was really setting the bar for luxury. And I think what has changed drastically is, in fact, that balance of power has shifted. And the consumers now, the guests, are defining what luxury is to them. And this is where I think the biggest change has come, which is luxury is extremely personal. What's luxury to me may not be luxury to Albert or Rick. And I think in hospitality and everything we do, I actually think that's the hardest trend from a service delivery perspective, is if luxury is so personal, how do you deliver that? How do you know that? And so, you know, obviously becoming much more customer-centric, leveraging what's available in terms of data and technology to empower that highly personalized service, I think is where we're moving in hospitality, and I would say overall in travel as well. But for me, luxury is extremely personal, and personally, luxury for me is extremely laid back.
There you go. Some people are laid back, some people are active. Albert.
Yeah, to sort of tie into what Shannon said, truly, luxury is very personal. I know we've heard it before, it could be very cliche, but truly that's what it is, right? As the consumer, as the traveler, as the advisor, we all get more and more savvy in terms of what our customers are looking for, or ourselves. That is what it is. A lot of it is also about transformation. How can the experience, the luxury experience, transform the individual?
There's that word, transform, yeah.
Right, because again, we don't mind, and we've been saying this at Virtuoso, is that the reason why we've evolved the title from travel agent to advisor is because the advisors are actually consulting their clients to get back on time, right? The one thing they can't get back is time, and that's the one biggest investment that they should be investing to the future. That's where we all in this room come in together to be able to help tell that story and help our customers, I guess you might say, define what they're looking for and listen to what they're looking for in the luxury space.
And Lia, you are actively talking with your clients all the time. How are they defining luxury to you, and how are you fulfilling those requests?
So I had a different story
Okay.
in my head to answer that question, so now you threw me off a
Okay,
little bit.
no,
But,
go with what you want.
No, I'll answer that question too, but I think it's important. I mean, I love what Shannon said because it's so true, but I mean, this is actually why myself and my husband started our company almost 14 years ago. We were actually going on a trip to Argentina planned by a travel agent, a very good one. My family had used them for quite a while. And they booked us this incredible trip. We were staying in Ritz-Carltons. We were staying in a beautiful Marriott, places that were a little bit off the beaten path even at that point, though, but had these hotels. And once we got to these locations, we quickly figured out this is not where we want to be. Like, this is not where we should be. We want to be at the little small hotel that's right on the beach when you walk out and your feet are in the sand. And we did not want the big restaurants that everyone had talked about. We wanted the little local mom and pop places that not only welcomed us into the back kitchen, but explained to us about the change in the area and where the food came from and how their family had been in this for generations. And we came back. We actually took the trip thinking we were going to move to Argentina, and that didn't happen, luckily. But came back and we said, I mean, there's got to be a company out there that caters to what people want, not what you think they want. And even myself and my husband at the time, you know, I wanted to go to the shishi beautiful restaurant, but he wanted the local under the radar, you know, restaurant. So we would switch off and on. But we quickly were like, how does someone just pigeonhole you into places because of maybe how much money you can spend or your age or what you, you know, have done in the past? I always say that every trip is different. Even if you worked with a client for years, every trip that they'll take is different. You know, where they'll stay with their family versus where they'll stay with their wife on a couple's trip versus where they'll stay on a guy's getaway. So you can't ever make any sort of pre-assumptions on what they would like. You have to dig deeper. You have to understand what their focus is on that trip and make sure you're pairing them up with the best option, it be quote unquote luxury with nice sheets, or maybe the luxury is your feet in the sand. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's where luxury comes in.
Again, personalization, customization.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. But also I think with clients these days, especially our clients, sometimes they're overwhelmed. You know, Instagram is a great technique, a great vehicle for us, a great vehicle in general. But you know, and the internet and all these companies out there, content is king. Content, newsletters, blogs, this, people are overwhelmed by it. So I think that for us, really focusing and narrowing down what is going to be the best options for them and why, and surprising and delighting them and pushing them into places that they wouldn't necessarily think of in those locations.
But that's your job, is to let them know the options and everything else beyond that. So,
correct, but I think the younger, quote unquote, younger clientele, and I think we started out with the quote unquote younger clientele, but that's evolved. I say it's not a demographic anymore, it's a psychographic. You don't have to be 25 years old to want to stay in a boutique hotel. So I think that the world of luxury and luxury hotels and what that means has just opened up dramatically.
Well, there's a lot more product in the market too, and everything.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. And Navin, you've been in luxury travel all your life in different forms, and before Ponant, and Rick mentioned you were at Cunard, so which we used to be, that would be the epitome of old scale luxury, and now you're at an luxury expedition line. It's sort of a different kind of thing, right?
Indeed, and I think the two words that come to mind, a lot's been said, and I think just to summarize, luxury's moved from the tangible to the intangible. And the reason it's moved is, yes, the consumers changed, but it's also changed because we have adapted to providing a lot of choice to consumers in the world of tangibles. Every town has a celebrity chef in this country. Every person has access to all sorts of privilege that they can buy quite readily and easily. But there are two things that come to mind which I think will set the trend for luxury, certainly in the next year to 2 or 3 more years. And the first of those is what Albert touched upon, and that is freezing time for people, helping them get off the grid so they can connect with themselves. That's why they travel. The second is a tremendous trend that we are seeing in our category, in our company, and that is the thirst for spontaneity. People do want that adventure, just as Albert experienced when the Pope entered that weeping room. I forgot to ask, did he or did he not? He did, see?
Well, that was arranged by the tour operator, I think. You know, he said, you know, Your Eminence, you need to be there at 10 for the tour group,
So,
right?
certainly expeditions afford adventure and spontaneity in droves, but you can also experience it when you go to classical destinations in many different ways. And the more of that you get, the more transcendental that experience becomes, and it stays with us forever as a memory and as a connection.
And Becky, we'll go to you. And you've been in the luxury field for a long time. How has luxury changed, and actually even more, where is it going?
Well, I think it's more about the human interaction, you know, feeling part of a destination. I know that's been talked about a lot, but, you know, I think anyone who goes to Africa, yeah, the animals are great, but when you go into a small village and you interact with the children of that village, or you go to a school and you see, you know, how hard it is for them to even get books. I mean, those are the impressions that people are leaving with, and it makes them want to go back and help. So I think it's really about the human interaction, whether it's a volunteer program while they're traveling. You know, families are taking their children out of school and traveling for months on end because they see, you know, they see travel as an education, and I think that's very luxurious too for the people who can afford to do that. But wow, what an impression that's going to make on the next generation.
It's the interactions you have with individuals
Exactly.
on the road, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you're right. I mean, I went on a safari a couple of years ago, and by the 5th day, and we see a herd of elephants. Elephants, all right.
Yeah.
You know, we see those all the time now. Although then we saw zebra at the last day, and one of the zebra started bleeding like crazy. I never knew they made a sound, and they were trying to get out from the croc that was down by the river. So suddenly the zebras became more interesting. So that was the experience of the safari. And you can always have those and those kind of things. But no, you're right, that's the whole thing. I want to jump ahead now quickly. I want to tell, a lot of you in the audience are probably saying, where can I find luxury clients? You know, and I want each of you to give an idea of how to find or how you are finding upscale clients. Rick, let's start with you. I mean, what's your best advice on where to go to find and what to do and what methods to use?
Well, I think the most important thing is not what to do, but what not to do. and what not to do is to try to save your clients money. If you try to save your clients money, you are never going to be successful in luxury travel. And so people, I mean, you can write this down. People don't travel to save money. They stay home to save money so that once or twice a year, you know, they'll sacrifice and save so that they can have that luxury experience. And so I think that's a really important thing. I think it's also important to note that not all luxury travelers are wealthy. You know, we carry a lot of people over the course of the year, and many of our clients who pay a lot of money to travel with us, they're school teachers, they're postal workers, they're also CEOs, they're also even some celebrities. And the thing that bonds them is this commonality of placing a high value on travel, being really culturally curious. And what makes it work for us is that when they travel with us, they're all equal. They're all equally treated as VIPs. There are not haves and have-nots. It doesn't matter what your bank account is because we include everything.
And you're experiencing all together, right?
And so there's never a matter of thinking about what purchases you need to make on tour to keep up with the Joneses. So really, everyone can be one congenial, happy family. I think Arthur Tauck back in 1925 said, I want no pessimists or grouches. And that's really what we're seeking today.
So no pessimists or grouches in your client list, all right? You got it? Shannon, where can these folks find luxury travelers?
No, it's a great question because I think obviously it's something we all grapple with. And I would say for leading, it's really, there's two ways I would answer that question. The first is we are very comfortable understanding that we are not for every luxury traveler. If you have a desire to have consistency in every experience, whether you're in London or Bali or LA, leading may not be for you, and being okay saying that we're trying to find those guests for whom we offer the best solution, those who seek cultural immersion, who seek transformation through experiences, who value independently branded hospitality experiences, enjoy being hosted by families, multi-generation family ownership of many of our hotels. That's not for everybody, and that's okay. And so in our marketing and our efforts, we're very focused on making sure that we're finding the right guests. But I'm very fortunate to have extremely wonderful partnerships with several of the travel advisors here on this stage. And quite frankly, they are the ones who bring us the most wonderful new clients and return clients. And so my answer is kind of easy in that I work very closely with my partners here on stage because they are exquisite at finding the right guests and as linking back to my first point, being able to match that guest needs and desires with the products that the hotels that we have.
And that is key, is matching the right client with the right product. We'll move over to Becky. We'll move over to Becky and get her response on this of how to find.
Well, first of all, if you do a great job at servicing your existing luxury clients, the referrals and word of mouth are unbelievable. I have great advisors, top producers, who have never advertised one thing in their life. All of their clients have come through referrals because they do a great job. And they work with the right partners. They roll out the VIP treatment. They pay attention to the details. And, it's a hard job. It really is to be a great travel advisor. But if you're good, the clients are going to find you. Because every consumer wants to brag about their travel advisor and where they've been. It's always a one-upsman. But also, sharing with your partners. I keep saying, our partners do not want to steal your clients. Because they can't do the attention to detail that a great travel advisor does. So work with them, share information about your client, and really make it a true partnership because they're going to keep coming back to you because you deliver the clients, as Shannon said. So, really, I think word of mouth, social media, if you're traveling, put it out there. It's amazing how that works today. If you're having the experiences like I saw Albert's pictures when he was meeting the Pope, and was green with envy. So.
And indeed, with social media now, we all see what our friends and relatives are doing all over the world, and it's actually a great marketing tool.
I want to do that.
I want to do that, absolutely. Navin, what's your best advice on where to find and how to find luxury clients?
So one way to look at this is obviously matching your clients to the right sort of product and qualifying them, because luxury does require time and affordability, both in short supply for anybody and everybody. But once you have satisfied clients, as a practical matter, you should take advantage of your suppliers by doing what I call ABC, advisor, bring clients. You hear enough presentations all day long and lunch and learns and videos and thus and such. But it's very helpful if your satisfied clients bring their best friends to listen to a supplier tell a story and extol the virtues of experiences and access that they can provide, because it'll help you convert business. And these people, being friends of your satisfied clients, will generally be far better qualified than any you might find through other means.
Fantastic. Lia, I know you've got some technology. You use technology a lot to help find clients and inspire them. How do you find clients?
We do.
I'm actually, you keep killing me. I have the answer in my head, then you twist it.
I know. I'm like,
Keeping me on my toes.
Right. Well, we have another hour, so it's okay.
I will get to that, but I do want to explain. So, when I started this company with my husband, we were not in the travel industry. We actually had no background whatsoever other than going on some trips with our families before that. So when we started this business, we had no clients. No clients, not like one client. We literally had to beg people to book $150 hotels with us and beg them and beg them and beg them, and everyone we knew.
So their begging helps, I guess, to find clients, right?
In the beginning. And slowly that $150 went to $250, $250 went to $350, $350 went to $450, because as those people started using us, they would refer us to other people. But we never stopped talking. And I think that that's the beauty of this industry, is that we work in the best industry in the world, travel. So whether you're talking about a small trip or a large trip, monetarily or size-wise, it's a beautiful thing. People want to talk about it, so talk about it. I mean, every time I go out for dinner, if I hear someone talking about travel next to me, I'll start talking to them. And right away, tell them that I own a travel company, give them my card. So it kind of goes the same lines. Like, the more you talk to people, the more you tell them about what you do, the more you tell them about incredible experiences that you plan, about incredible hotels that are opening. People just love to talk about travel. It's like almost like being a doctor. They want to corner you and just talk about travel. So I think that the more that you do that, the more that you connect with people and ask people, if you know of someone that might benefit from my services, please, send them to me. I'm happy to send you a gift card to your favorite restaurant. Also going and connecting with people that have, and organizations that have high kind of price point, passion points, like wine, golf, food, art. Those are things that very wealthy people usually go and are a part of or enjoy. So finding out, organizations, clubs, things like that maybe you can offer up your services. A lot of times these clubs and companies have never done anything travel related, but if you reach out and connect and say, let's partner on this, maybe it's a new revenue stream. I mean, things like that is what got us here today. We hustled. We asked everyone to partner. So, I mean, everyone in the sense of luxury companies. So I think that that's a really important thing to remember. And, I still to this day, I never stop wanting the business, whether it's a $300 hotel or a $30,000, hotel.
No,
I want the business every single, night of it. So I think that keep that in the back of your mind. And also, we kind of never turn down, and still to this day kind of don't turn down people that are maybe wanting to spend a little bit less, because maybe that trip that's now a little bit less will turn into something that's huge in the future. It's like, I think of the fact of, people buying an engagement ring. When you're young, you can't really afford that much. But then in 10 years, maybe you made a lot of money and you're going back for the big diamond necklace. So don't discount people that are maybe spending a little bit less than what you deem as luxury.
Yeah, good advice, good advice. I'll give you one last shot at this question of how to find, and then we're going to have one more question. We have enough here questions. If you want to stay for another hour, we can do it. I think they're going to kick us out. But Albert.
Yeah, they will. Very quickly, really, what hasn't been said. It's obviously, we talked about social media briefly, and I love social media. I'm active on it, especially for what I do, for what we all do. But making sure you truly stick to your travel persona. Whatever your profile is, keep the problems at home away from actually what you're doing to sell travel. Because that's the most important, because people will buy based on what your recommendations are. People will listen to your stories, and that's the most important, that you're also delivering a true value proposition for yourselves. Working, of course, with a network or a network or a group like Leading Hotels will always help as well. I didn't want to self-plug Virtuoso, but that's what we do, is we help our advisors find new business, find new markets to tap into, as well as new advisors. Yeah. That's it.
All right, we have less than 5 minutes, and I'm going to bounce around a bit. Sorry, Lia. I'm going to we have a panel on travel visionaries. I hope you, but that's the keynote panel going to happen at 12:45, and we'll have Matthew Upchurch and Dave Nealman. It'll be a great panel. I'm going to give each of you a chance to be a travel visionary. Give me the next big thing in luxury travel. And we'll start with you, Rick. What's the next big thing?
You know, I wish I could tell you what the next big thing is, but one thing I'm sure of is that the marketplace will tell us. And it's our job to listen. I mean, none of us can lead the market leads us. And so we have to have listening ears, and we have to be receptive to what we're being told, and we have to be really in touch with the consumer. And if we deliver what the consumer wants, we'll be here a lot longer. You know, our companies will be pleasing people for generations beyond us sitting up here on the panel. There are things that will never change, and what will never change is people want experiences that are life-changing. People want to feel like a welcome guest. People want to get their money's worth and then some. And if we can keep those fundamentals intact, as travel changes, we're going to be around for a long time.
Great. Shannon, what's the next big thing?
I'm with Rick. If I knew the answer to that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be on a beach somewhere counting my money. But and this is kind of capturing what we've all been talking about. I think we've gone in luxury travel from this idea of consumption, traveling for consumption, you know, eating and drinking and buying, to this idea of immersion, immersing yourself in the culture, immersing yourself in the destination, really becoming a part of it. The next step is this idea of conversion. I think it's really leaving a destination better than you found it, which in turn transforms your life, leaves you with indelible memories forever, but you've also made an impact in that destination, that culture that you're traveling to. And I think that's what we've been talking quite a bit about. And so I think for me, looking forward, that's kind of the next big thing of like the next year or two.
Okay. Albert?
Very quickly, in the world we live in, obviously tech gets to be faster and faster, quicker and quicker. Your clients will be more knowledgeable than you will be. They claim to be more. They'll come to you with what they think they want to. But really the future is our ability to be more personal in delivering these experiences. Because with all this deluge of information at our fingertips, they'll still come to you for advice. Help me declutter this and help me plan the trip, because they will never be able to do it on their own. And we believe in that, and that's what we're working towards.
And that's good stuff.
Thank you.
And Lia?
So we already see it now a little bit, and I agree with Shannon. If I really knew this, I'd be on a beach somewhere as well, counting my money. But I think that we see people shifting more and more from just taking trips to taking trips that mean something to them and taking more of them. So no longer two-week trips or 2 one-week trips. We're seeing mini trips, like 3-4 days and 10 of them throughout the year. People want to see more places. They, you know, whether we agree with how long they're seeing it for or not, they want to experience it. So, you know, I think we're going to see more specific wellness-focused trips, specific adventure-focused trips, specific, you know, self-care-focused trips. So I think that it's going to evolve into trying to figure out how people can see more places and hone in on their specifics.
Or their passions, yeah.
On their passions, yeah.
Navin?
Okay, so I think in many ways it comes back full circle to sustainability, and we all will help shape that, just the way Apple's shaped our habits, and you see people with all of their media around them today. And one of the ways I'm happy to share with you that we will be transforming the traveler to the Arctic and Antarctic is with a polar exploration ship, which will introduce citizen science. People are very keenly interested in understanding their environment. They want to know why you want to know the physiological changes in humpback whales and their migration to the Antarctic, or why you want to build a reef in the Pacific, or why you want to clean up the Aldabra atoll in the Seychelles. And they want to participate and become part of that. That is going to be a very important trend in luxury.
And we'll round it up with you, Becky. What's your next big thing?
Well, the continued growth of great travel advisors and young advisors seeing that this is a viable way to make a living. We have more advisors, 30 that are making six figures that I've ever seen. So I think that's going to continue to grow. But I also think clients' resilience to things happening in the world. We saw very little cancellations with Australia with the fires, and now people are wanting to travel there because they want to give back. They want to make sure that Australia comes back. And again, this is where social media kind of plays, an impact, because some social media was over the top and you would think the entire country's burning, but we quickly found out through Australia tourism is to getting the right information out there. But clients are resilient now. They're not going to shy away from destinations because something happens there. So it'll be interesting with the whole SARS-like virus that's going on now, and if we start seeing a lot of cancellations there. We haven't yet, but we'll see.
Thank you very much, guys. You did a great job. Please give them a hand.